The D, welcome to the show, everybody. Let me just tell you about the late start time today, in particular, really late start time today, 7:13 in the a.m. Your boy doesn't bounce back from the 10 p.m. tip-offs like he used to. I'll just say that much. But either way, here we are. We got to talk about that Sixers game last night. I'm going to go ahead and bet that he didn't stay up and watch it. It was awesome for a number of reasons. Dom Barlow, the biggest reason. The fact that James Harden is trying to get out of another team, get off another team. That's fun. That broke during the game last night, so that was good. And then Dom Barlow was dominant again. And then Tyrese Maxey started hitting more threes. That was also fun. It was just, for the most part, dominance from your Philadelphia 76ers last night, who just won 4 in a row. I didn't even know they were allowed to do that. Well, they've won 4 in a row before, but 5 in a row tonight against the Warriors. Oh man, that'd be a spicy meatball. Speaking of spicy meatballs, Vic Fangio enters the chat. Yeah. Here's the deal. I feel very much like my emotions are being held for ransom, okay, when it comes to the Vic Fangio world and whether or not he's going to retire. First off, last year, apparently this was a thing that nobody talked about. This didn't even scratch the surface of anything. That he was like, well, I think I might go out on top winning a Super Bowl and all that. And then he's like, oh, I'll be back. And then this year, it works its way into Adam Schefter's head. And then Adam Schefter leaves cryptic notes, all right, about whether or not Vic Fangio is going to be back. And doesn't even name Vic Fangio. And then for the last week, we've been talking about Vic Fangio, and we've been kicking ourselves at the idea of how can Vic Fangio be even thinking about retirement? And the Eagles decide, no, Christian Parker, go ahead, interview with the Cowboys. See you later, bye. How is that even possible? And yet here we are. Also, Clint Hurt goes and interviews elsewhere. Doesn't get the gig, but he interviews elsewhere. Okay. Just mess with my emotions throughout this offseason. The one guy in the Eagles coaching staff that I can look at and go, this guy, I know what he's bringing to the table, and it's going to be great. He's like, maybe I won't be back. And now it's looking more and more like he's going to be back. Still nothing officially official as of yet. But that is, it's been nerve-wracking the last couple of days. And one of the guys that is a big Vic Fangio fan, and I know that's not limited company in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room, because we heard the stories when Vic Fangio was hired 2 years ago coming out of Miami about how this guy, wasn't relatable to players. This guy was too old school, too tough on players and all that. Nothing but glowing things about Vic Fangio. And Nakobe Dean, I want to get this right. I don't have the podcast up anymore, but Teron Armstead, formerly of the Dolphins, as a matter of fact, had Nakobe Dean on his podcast. And Nakobe Dean, go figure, spoke glowingly about Vic Fangio and how he wants Vic Fangio to be back here in Philadelphia, about what a great coach Vic Fangio is, how he doesn't care about identifying with a coach who's 40 years older than him, but he cares about how that coach relates to his players in terms of just typical social skills and coaching skills. In other words, trying to get the best out of the athlete. And players in the Eagles locker room not taking it to heart, but respecting it enough to do what the coach wants. And respecting the coach himself enough to do what he wants. Kobe Dean said he didn't want Vic Fangio to go anywhere. He also said he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to stay here in Philadelphia. He wants to be an Eagle. I would love to see him stay here in Philadelphia. And I'm a big Nakobe Dean fan. We did the Sky Drive with him, with our friends at Sky Motorcars. I'm a big Nakobe Dean fan, and I hope that he is here. However, with the Eagles having Jahad Campbell and drafting Jahad Campbell in the first round last year, I think the writing's on the wall that Nakobe just might not be back this upcoming season. I hope I'm wrong. I hope those tea leaves aren't read true, and I hope that he's here. But this guy, you could tell, loves being in Philadelphia. He also told a story in the interview about Smile Mondon being here and him telling Smile Mondin, another Georgia guy, hey, just so you know, I think this was in training camp or in a preseason game. Hey, just so you know, these fans are great, but they boo you. And Smile Mondin, like, I don't know how anyone that plays sports in America doesn't know that in Philly we will boo our own. Apparently, Smile Mondin didn't know. And Nakobe Dean had to break that story to him. Like, oh, by the way, hey, yeah, they're cheering right now. But if you don't do what you're not, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they're going to boo you. What? No way. I can't imagine anyone hearing that Philadelphia would boo their own players and be like, what? No way. The city of brotherly love. I hate when people go to that. Because I don't know anybody that has a brother that just is like, oh, everything's great all the time. We just tell each other how great we are all the time. I don't know one person like that. And to me, that doesn't sound like a healthy relationship. Okay? That ain't healthy. But in Philly, it is truly the city of brotherly love. But he explains to Smile Mondin, hey, man, they're going to boo you if you don't do what you're supposed to. It's like, what? And then sure enough, they're playing a game. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. And people are booing at the link. And he's like, I told you. Apparently you needed a lesson. And there you go. But bottom line is, you love that about a city that actually gives a damn. Do you want to play in some place? And this is the point he also makes. Do you want to play in some place that doesn't care? Some place where you just get, golf and tennis claps along the way occasionally? Or do you want to get a place that people are so riled up that this is their day, this is their year, this is a 6-month period of time where they just fall in love with you and live and die with the way you play the game? Because I'd rather play in front of those people that give a damn as opposed to the people that are just out for a social gathering and people that love spending, whatever it is, $18 for a beer now at a game. I don't even know. But he spoke glowingly of Philadelphia, honestly about Philadelphia. He wanted to stay here in Philadelphia. Spoke glowingly about his head coach. Or excuse me, about his he did speak glowingly about his head coach, actually, about Nick Sirianni, just the emotion and how everything is very real with him. And he was asked about the offense. He didn't say much. The only thing Nakobe Dean really said was frustration. There's a lot of frustration on that side of the football. We'll get into that coming up. I do want to start it off, though. Man, oh, man. I'll just give you the cliff notes of this game last night. Dominick Barlow was a flat-out beast. Sixers won 128-113 last night against the LA Clippers. No James Harden. He was off last night due to personal reasons. And then during the game, the story comes out from Shams Charania that the LA Clippers and the Cleveland Cavaliers are working on a trade involving James Harden for Darius Garland. That's where we're at right now. It's a matter of money, as you would assume, between the Cavs and the Clippers. But go figure, James Harden wants out of yet another team. Okay. So either way, he didn't play last night. So it's just Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard gets off to a really rough start for the Clippers last night. He had just 2 points in the first quarter. He had 11 points in the second quarter. He had 11 more points in the third. And then fourth quarter, not so much. But the third quarter of that game, as it has pretty much all season, dictated whether or not the Sixers were going to win or lose this basketball game. The Clippers started to go on a little bit of a run. Sixers led by 23 at one point. The Clippers started to whittle that down ever so slightly. And all of a sudden, Dom Barlow lights another fire under the 76ers. And there was a point there where it was, I think, a 13-point game or 15-point game. Dom Barlow goes down the offensive end, gets 3 offensive rebounds in 4 seconds, finally gets the last one and tips it in for 2, gets fouled, and then converts for the 3-point play, hits the free throw. The Sixers controlled from that point on. Grimes ended up starting hitting some threes. Jared McCain hit a three, made it 100-85 in the later stages of that third quarter. McCain got had a turnover, unfortunately. It led to a layup the other way, but the Sixers responded well after that. Dom Barlow had 20 points, 14 rebounds, 9 offensive rebounds after 3 quarters of play. The Sixers led 100-87 after 3 quarters. And then just with about 3 minutes left in the game, you look over at Tyronn Lue's squad, and he took his starters out. And then somehow, for some dumb reason, Tyrese Maxey was still in the game. You're playing a back-to-back, the first leg of a back-to-back, 9 days on the road, 5-game road trip, West Coast. Why is Maxey even for 30 seconds more than he has to be? Anyway, he was out there for about 2 minutes more than he had to be. But Maxey started off hot. He was 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. Joel Embiid only had 24 last night, but still pretty solid. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well last night, but was still, 24 points ain't nothing. And really, all in all, Kelly Oubre, you needed him in the early goings of the game. He had 13 points in the first half, only 2 in the second. Like to see more from him. VJ Edgecombe, only 5 points, but stuffed the stat sheet elsewhere other than rebounds. That's the other thing. Barlow had 16 rebounds to lead the team. 10 of them on the offensive glass in total. So throughout the entire game, 16 rebounds. 10 of those were on the offensive glass. Nobody else on the Sixers had 5 rebounds total. Or excuse me, more than 5 rebounds total. And Dom Barlow doubled him up on just offensive boards alone. What? And a lot of those points were on second chance points. A lot of the rebounds led to second chance points for him or somebody else. A lot of them were tip-ins. He was all over the place. You're talking about the first quarter last night. He scored 11 points, 7 boards, 4 offensive in the first quarter alone. And that led the Sixers to a 38-19 lead after 1 quarter. And that, from that point on, it just felt like, I know I didn't like the term the other night when it was used by Paul George, but at least you did something in the game to then hit cruise control for the most part and cruise to the victory. And when there was a little hitch in their giddy up, Dom Barlow was like, I got you. It's only a matter of time before this contract is converted to a real NBA deal and not a two-way. But man, watching him play last night, it reminded me of the thing probably every coach ever told you growing up, which was, it doesn't take talent to hustle. And there were a couple instances where Barlow was just out hustling guys. Second quarter, he gets an offensive rebound. There's 3 Raptors around him, and there's 3 Clippers around him. And that's nightmares right there, man. Kawhi Leonard in red, thinking of the Raptors. Oh, man. Anyway, the Clippers, 3 Clippers around him, and Barlow picks it up and gets the easy putback. Like, just being aggressive, just being on the floor, like getting on the ground, getting dirty. Doesn't take talent to hustle. Dom Barlow did it last night. It was so much fun. The classic phrase, you love to see it, certainly applies to last night's game. Now, hopefully they do it again against the Golden State Warriors. One more thing with Dom Barlow as well. He's the first 76er to come up with 25 points and 10 or more offensive rebounds in a game since 1990. When Charles Barkley did it. What a game. It was fun. It was just fun basketball last night is really what it was. And one other thing that stuck out to me really well last night, with Paul George being out and suspended for 25 games, Sixers so far are 2-0. So you got 23 more games to go here. You need somebody to step up. Jared McCain over the last 3 games really has been better from beyond the arc. Just 2 for 2 last night, but still he didn't miss. Kelly Oubre, 13 points in the first half. Okay. All right. There's going to be nights where he gets 25. There's going to be a night where he gets 30, probably. Get hot from beyond the arc. VJ Edgecombe is a guy I want to see more points from, but he did other things that certainly helped you last night. Last night was Dom Barlow's turn to help carry the workload of Paul George not being here. Throughout this 25-game stretch, you're going to need different players to step up. I never thought it was going to be one guy. I still think you're going to get a great game from Trendon Watford at some point. And I think of him with Paul George because he's the only other guy that's really going to be a point forward for you. So I think you get another game like that from him. Kelly Oubre is going to get hot one night. Quentin Grimes is going to go off at 14 off the bench last night, which was great. Knocking down a couple of threes for you, which is great to see from him. I mentioned McCain. You're going to get other guys to step up, but it's not going to be just one guy. It's not just going to be, Kelly Oubre's in the starting lineup. You're going to be fine. No, it's going to be a number of guys. The guy I'd really like to see take over more of that scoring role is VJ Edgecombe, and that unfortunately has not been the case. 5 points last night. 1 for 8 from beyond the arc. He's a better shooter than that. He's going to have better nights. It was an off night for him. But for me, it's not so much about positions. It's not even so much about who's playing the 4, who's playing the 3, who's a point 4, whatever. It's about pecking order for me. You're going to be going back and forth between Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid as long as Joel Embiid is out there on the floor. Those are going to be the 1-2 punch. Who's going to be the number 3 guy? I think you are going to have some fluidity to that. You are going to have the nights that Oubre goes off and whatever, VJ, Grimes off the bench, whoever. But for me, it's about pecking order. I'd love to see VJ Edgecombe become that solid number 3 scorer. That's what I'd like to see next for VJ Edgecombe. This is the opportunity he has. It's right there in front of him. Take it by the balls, VJ Edgecombe. Take it by the balls and go out there and do your thing. Tonight's going to be an interesting matchup. This should be, look, you're not going to get Embiid playing. You already don't have Paul George. Steph Curry not playing. Jimmy Butler not playing. John Kuminga, remember him? Go out there. Don't let Buddy Hield have a 9 for 13 day from beyond the arc. Let's not have that. And if he does, let's have Kelly Oubre be 7 of 10 from beyond the arc. Let's have Tyrese Maxey hit another 7 threes as well, like he did last night. By the way, team high and I believe matching game high with Kawhi Leonard, 29 points for Tyrese Maxey last night. So that's what you had. That's what you had. And also, I talked about this at length yesterday. When it comes to Joel Embiid and the possibility of him playing in the All-Star game, please still no thank you. I hope he is still an All-Star snub through final selections and all that stuff and replacements as alternates and all that good stuff. I hope he just take the weekend off, brother. Put the feet up, relax, take break. Hey, get that nice chip on your shoulder there about being a snub, an all-star snub. Don't need him playing. Another 10 o'clock start time tonight. So that's a good time. Not only was it a 10 o'clock start time, but Keith and I did our Locked On 76ers after the game. About a half hour after the game we did it. So, yeah, once again, your boy doesn't bounce back from the 10 p.m. start times. Nakobe Dean does the interview last night again or yesterday with Teron Armstead. And the word he used, I mentioned Vic Fangio, described Vic Fangio as my guy. Talked about how he wants to stay here in Philadelphia. And then when he was asked about the Eagles' offense, and I love the way that this was set up by Armstead, he goes, this is a situation, he goes, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the offense because it is the storyline. And he said, they know they're better than what they were. And when you're not playing to the level you know you can play at, there's a lot of frustration. I feel like the Eagles off season, which isn't even a month old yet, has been full of frustration. And it's also been full of trying to diagnose what the problem is offensively. I am a Jalen Hurts fan. All right. I don't like admitting that about anybody, but I feel when you've never had and for you that catch the show every day, you know what I'm about to say, when a franchise that has never had a franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback before, as Jalen Hurts is, and he's played in twice as many Super Bowls as any other quarterback you've ever had, I kind of want that guy to stick around, and I tend to think that guy's not the problem. And I remember when being a runner-up in the regular season MVP award, balling out in one Super Bowl, balling out in another and winning, balling out in that one also and being the Super Bowl MVP and always going to the playoffs every year. I remember when that was, and having a play that's like an automatic first down or touchdown. Like, I remember when that was a really good thing until Jalen Hurts did it, and now it all sucks, apparently. Hope you pick up on my sarcasm because I'm laying it on pretty thick. But with all the accolades and with all that he's accomplished in his career, I don't want people to be lost on the idea that the offense was predictable only because of Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo is a very easy scapegoat, and now he's been scapegoated. And look, I do believe he was a bigger problem than Jalen Hurts was last year. I told you before, offensive line play overall, Kevin Patullo, Jalen Hurts. When I think of the offense, that's the problem. You can look at A.J. Brown drops, certainly. You can look at A.J. Brown giving up on deep balls, certainly. When you talk about drops, you go right away to the playoffs. You go the playoff. It was one game. And then you also think about the Chargers game. Could they have been better balls? Yeah, they could have been right on the money, but they weren't. And you're a professional wide receiver, one who's paid a pretty nice chunk of change, and one who can make those catches and didn't. But I still look at the offensive line, Kevin Patullo, Jalen Hurts. That's what I look at when I think. Now, if your offensive line is not good and your play caller and offensive coordinator is not good, that makes it really difficult to look at Jalen Hurts and be like, he's the problem. He sucks. Like, really? Those two other guys directly affect how the other guy is performing. So I don't look at this at all as Jalen Hurts sucks. So let me just get this out of the way. I look at it as, Jalen needs to be better, but there are bigger problems than him. And if those big problems exist, like I say all the time, you have an offensive line problem, you got an everything problem. But if those problems exist in front of Jalen Hurts, then it makes Jalen Hurts' job really difficult to do. And look, Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal athlete, but you can't tell me that 482 touches between the regular season and postseason had zero effect on how he performed in this past season. Just as an aside, an honorable mention. Okay, I'll put that even below Jalen Hurts, but an honorable mention. Being predictable just isn't about play calling. It's about tendencies. How many times this season in particular do we see a defensive tackle drop back into coverage? Jalen looks at the defense when he has time for that pre-snap read, which I would appreciate whoever Sean Mannion, getting those plays in a little bit faster so Jalen has time to look at what's in front of him. One read, doesn't look at where the DT is. DT drops back, intercepted. Like the Chargers game, for instance. Perfect example of that. They also did it to him against the San Francisco 49ers. Hell, Robert Saleh did the same thing in the Jets game 3 years ago. That's predictable. That's knowing what the quarterback is doing and then being able to trap him, essentially. That's also predictable. Jalen Hurts needs to change tendencies. He needs to kind of hit the reset button on some of these things. Pre-snap read, if he has time to do it. All right, if they're doing this, I do this. That adjustment, the defense already knows it. And that's not because of a play call necessarily from Kevin Patullo. That's because, if we do this, Jalen's going to react this way. That also is predictable. It's not just, we know the play that's coming. It's no, we know what the quarterback's going to do. We know what his counter is to this defense. Those are things that Jalen needs to improve upon. Those are things that Sean Mannion needs to help Jalen get away from. Having more creative play design, that would certainly help. Being able to throw to a running back even out of the backfield, a screen play would help greatly. Not running verticals all the live long day. That would be good. Hitch routes. Yeah, let's not do so many of those, please and thank you. These are all things that are coachable. And fortunately for Jalen, he's a guy that can get better. And this is where my fandom does come in with Jalen Hurts. It's not even so much fandom as his acknowledgement. This guy wants to work. This isn't some guy that's coming in here feeling like the whole team was handed to him, gifted to him, like he is some, second overall pick type of thing. This is a guy that wants to work. There's been a lot of stuff said coming out of the Eagles facility. I won't say locker room so much, but I'll say facility. That has to do with Jalen not being coachable. Jalen only wanted to run a few things that he feels comfortable with. Well, it's up to Jalen Hurts, if it's true, to want to expand his repertoire when it comes to the play calling and when it comes to scheme and when it comes to his comfort zone. And it's up to Sean Mannion to find the way that he can best do that with Jalen Hurts. So that, to me, is what a lot of next season is riding on. The other part of it has to do with, unfortunately, things we're just going to find out as the offseason goes on. A.J. Brown being back, Dallas Goedert being back, the offensive line, Lane Johnson, all the things that would actually make this gig pretty unattractive for any offensive coordinator the Philadelphia Eagles spoke with, potential offensive coordinator the Philadelphia Eagles spoke with over the last couple of weeks. If you're an offensive coordinator, what are you coming into? If you're not Brian Dable, if you're not Mike McDaniel, if you're not Todd Monken, not that they even talked to him, but Monken, excuse me. If you're in a situation where you're coming into an offense and you don't even know what you're going to have, a Hall of Fame right tackle might not be available or might not be playing. Your high-paid left tackle in Jordan Mailata's coming off a down year. An offensive line that was banged up last year. Yeah, you just want to go, oh, well, let's see an offseason and they'll be good. They were banged up from jump this past season. Hell, maybe a month more off will help them compared to last year. I hope so, but you don't know. So there's still a lot of questions that surround this team, but the thing that can help get everything back on track is having a system that is somewhat creative, a system that knows how to absolutely capitalize on Jalen Hurts' comfort zone and strength, and then the tricky part, expanding it. That's what a lot of this season is going to come down to, the upcoming season, before we go to the draft, before we go to free agency, before you fill out even the rest of the coaching staff, before you even meet Sean Mannion at a press conference, whatever it might be. That, to me, is what is going to sum up how well this team performs next season. Obviously, talent and all that, who they acquire, who they keep, who goes, whatever, trade, that's going to have a big part of it too. But all in all, I don't care if you find a time machine and get, a 26-year-old Jerry Rice. If you don't expand as an offense, evolve as an offense, we're going to be looking at the same song and dance in the upcoming season. And that ain't good. It needs to improve. And that goes with the offensive line. It obviously goes with the play caller and offensive coordinator, and it goes to Jalen. But if there is one thing that I can absolutely take away from this offense and say I have zero confidence in it. Like, I got confidence the offensive line will bounce back. I got confidence that A.J. Brown's better than what we saw this past season. I got confidence that Jalen Hurts is better than what we saw this past season. But if there is one thing I have zero confidence in, and I can't stress this enough for people that are still kicking this thought around, folks, it's been decided. The votes are already in. They're counted. Nick Sirianni cannot call plays. Nick Sirianni shouldn't even really be involved in the offense. Nick Sirianni, hey, do the head coach thing, man. If you want to be that CEO head coach that people talk about, which I still hate, but if you want to be that CEO coach, you do that. Be that guy. But play calling, game planning, no way in hell do I want Nick Sirianni involved in the offense. For people that are still kicking this around, all you got to do is go to the final 43 seconds of their playoff game against the 49ers and look at Nick Sirianni on the sideline, dumbfounded. Kevin Patullo is doing the one talking. You have already acknowledged that this guy ain't it. Kevin Patullo ain't it. You talked about that with 5 weeks left in the season. More reports came out about your involvement. And then with the season on the line, you left it up to him. Wow. No. You got more involved and you still had another second half where you didn't have a completion against the Buffalo Bills? Yeah, Nick Sirianni ain't some offensive mastermind. And that, to me, the people, well, what about Nick Sirianni being more involved in the offense? No. What? No. The votes are already in, all right? No. That's what makes the Sean Mannion hire so intriguing. Because, I mean, he's coming in here with obviously experience, playing for a number of great coaches and great offensive minds. And he's supposed to be, everyone has got every writers, coaches, players, high school coach, whatever, raving about Sean Mannion and how bright this guy is. Okay, great. Can he call plays? Don't know. And that's unfortunately something we're not going to know until we see him do it. Kellen Moore had instant success as a play caller, coming from the playing field to being a play caller for the Dallas Cowboys. Hate to admit it because it's the Cowboys, but it's true. Can Sean Mannion do that as well? You're talking about new concepts, aware of the modern game, right? Nick Sirianni ain't 75 years old here. All right, Kevin Patullo wasn't 65 years old. These are still young guys, not players in the league by any means. Sean Mannion, that's the one advantage you could certainly say he has, is that he's played in the league. He's played the position. If you need him to be a quarterback whisperer or an offensive defibrillator, then hopefully he could be that guy. But that's what's so intriguing about it, is that you really don't know what he's going to bring to the table. You want to be optimistic about it because he got the job, for crying out loud. And it was so bad to watch last year with this offense. But the thing that's so intriguing is you just don't know. So from now up until he calls his first play for this Eagles offense, young guy, former player, former quarterback, been around the likes of a Clint Kubiak, a Sean McVay, Kevin Stefanski. Like he's been around, man. So you have some fresh ideas in here. All of it's not going to matter if Nick Sirianni's be like, hey, I love those outside the box ideas, but here's the box. Stay inside it. So I look forward to this getting cleaned up. And hopefully Sean Mannion's the guy that does that. And also he finds a way to connect with Jalen Hurts and finds a great way to expand the comfort zone of Jalen and the rest of this Philadelphia Eagles offense. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARS to get $20 off your first purchase of the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine, fine day. Rye, what's going on, Rye? Leave me alone. Good morning. Good morning. Sean Gillespie, hello. Just SPG, how to bounce back from a 10 p.m. Mental health is fine. Mental health is fine. But physical feel, not great. Not great. Also, you know what else is like? We just got a new oven. And I don't know if you guys know this, but when you get a new oven, first off, how adult is this? We got a new oven. Our oven died on Thanksgiving, and then it was like, oh my goodness, so much like cancellations, then the snow, and then like just to get an oven, man, just want an oven. This is Thanksgiving, no oven. But we have an air fryer and stovetop. We don't do much oven cooking anyway. But anyway, they say we got to turn on the oven and burn off whatever is in there. Yeah, my house smelled like a chemical plant. I was like, okay, well, all the stuff I read about on social media, which I know is totally true, right? Yeah. So that was already messing with my brain, feeling all lightheaded and whatnot. And then a 10 p.m. tip off. Oh, man. Yeah. Jason A., good morning. Stoutland could retire anytime, too. Oh, boy. Thank you for that. Now even the defensive coaches don't want to work for Sirianni. Too soon? There you go. Definitely, Farzy, that's how it's always been here. We will always boo our own. Hell yeah. Stink up the joint. We're going to, Jason, thank you for going back to that. Here's the deal. One of the best things I've ever heard is Malcolm Jenkins, after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, 2 quarters into the next season, they were getting booed off the field at halftime. Remember that? That was the best. And Malcolm Jenkins after the game, well, not with how they were playing. They won the game. But after the game, Malcolm Jenkins in the locker room be like, yeah, that boo us too. We didn't give him anything to cheer about. Love it. Mrs. Sirianni, Nick's wife. I'm blanking on her name. But in a preseason game, they got booed. Nick Sirianni's first year. And he said to his wife in the car ride home, hey, did you hear they're booing us? And she's like, well, what did you give him to cheer about? I think she's from Kansas City, or maybe that's where they met. But like, she gets us, man. She gets us. So, yeah. I love the fact that we'll boo our own players. I love that. Like, yeah, we have moments where it's, hey, get him next time. But very, very, once every 10 years. once every 10 years. And I love that about us. When the Phillies won the World Series, it took them an inning and a half or an inning and a third to be booed. I want to say it was Chipper Jones hit a home run off Brett Myers on opening night, and they got booed. It was great. The food is even more expensive and not worth it. Oh, at the games. Yeah, that's not good. Wait, what? Farzi will start regrowing extra hair like Homer Simpson? Just the wavy lines over the top? Oh, man. Oh, the Simpsons. Barlow is the player we needed for a while, man. Keeps the biggest steal ever. Keeps this up, the biggest steal ever. Hell yeah. Cousin? What's going on, cousin? April. Hello, April. Sean Gillespie, Eagles management is the problem with their damn arrogance, costing us 2 good years. It's hard to stay mad at Eagles management when 3 Super Bowls in 8 years is pretty damn good. 2 Super Bowl victories in that amount of time is pretty good. Now it's a matter of repeating it with the same quarterback and same coach in terms of winning. So let's get back to that. By the way, Jalen did say at the Pro Bowl when he's being interviewed, I think by Eagles social media, they were like, hey, every year it's the playoffs, or it's, what did he say? Oh, it's Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl. And he goes, well, hopefully the pattern repeats, even though he's an alternate. Eagles offense needs a lot of help. Hurts doesn't have any issues putting in the effort. I agree, April. Let's see if we can grow this game. Grow his game. Hell yeah. I hear a twinge of skepticism in your voice when talking about the Eagle. Thank you, Mr. Sandman. You picking it up? Stop making excuses for Hurts. He's more of an athlete than a quarterback. Not his fault. They haven't been. What excuse? When I mention him as one of the big problems, but not the biggest, that's not making excuses. That's acknowledging facts. I hate when people say making excuses. Not of my ilk. Hurts doesn't throw on time. If you watch the film, you see guys covered. I watch the film on all these games, man. I will say, especially in the second half of the season, there are definitely throws. The reason I shoot it down immediately, my knee-jerk reaction to shoot it down is because early in the season, people were like, holding the ball too long. And then I watched the film and I was like, there's nobody there. Later in the season, there were definitely instances where you could see him roll out of the pocket, have time, and just not throw the football. Then in other instances, you see him roll out of the pocket, have time, and then throw the football, and then it goes through the hands of Jahan Dotson. So there was like a period there of 3 games, 4 games maybe at the most, where Jalen was almost surprised that he actually had guys open. That ain't good. Nick needs to never call plays again. I concur. 1, 2, 3, Fars, 5, Sixers. Thank you. Sean Gillespie, Chiriani is definitely not an offensive mastermind, but some type of hypnotic one. That can be the only reason for the success. It ain't play calling alone. Good. I'm glad I mentioned 3 things. It ain't play calling alone. Hurts doesn't throw on time, even with a good play call. See, here's the other part of it. On a good play call, there are definitely moments where I'm like, Jalen needs to get rid of that half second faster. Like the throw is there. Instances when you're just focusing on Jalen, it's the classic. And a lot of quarterbacks do this, but it's the classic. You have him open, you see him, you got it, and the pat the football, that little split second there is a difference between a half a step. Wait, can y'all come and get my weather? It is drunk in my yard. That's funny. Bring neon green sun visor Nick back? That's funny. Get them next time is a Rob Thompson motivational speech. I was playing for the tie. Flyers continue the worst. Oh, God. Yeah, Flyers are going through a rough one. I'm glad the Flyers even gave us a little bit early this season. They already exceeded my expectations. Hey, thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. We have Locked On 76ers already up. We're going to put out the podcast later today. Locked On Eagles Squad show, noon today. Me, Louis DiBiase, Jason Machitas, Harry Mays. Locked On Eagles YouTube channel. So catch us there live at noon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then.